Ladies and gentlemen, today I'm joined with a very special guest running a two-fight win streak in the UFC, Nathaniel the Prospects Wood. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, mate. I know we've been trying to get this podcast for a while, so it's good to finally be here. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. Obviously, recently announced the Andre FIlli fight in London. How do you see that one going? You put on social media you're going to finish him in two. How do you see it?
Yeah, mate, I feel good for it. It's a matchup that I've wanted for a while, if I'm honest. I'm actually a big fan of Andre FIlli. I've watched him for years, when he's been in Team Alpha Male, obviously with Uriah Faber, Cody Garbrandt. I'm a big fan of all of those guys. So, yeah, it's a pleasure to fight him. I do think stylistically that I'm going to be a nightmare for him. I think I'm going to make it into a dogfight, and I don't know if he's going to want that. So, yeah, seeing his fight against Charles Jourdain, I thought Charles was winning on the striking department. And obviously we know how that fight went with me and Charles. So I look forward to getting in there, and I believe this is going to be my first UFC knockout win. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
You talk about your last fight against Charles Jourdain. Is it a bit frustrating being out of the octagon since September? Obviously, in March we had the fight cancelled against Lerone Murphy.
Yeah, mate, like you wouldn't believe. It's not only frustrating, it's hard on my bank balance. I got to not fighting, I'm not earning. So it's been really frustrating. But I like to think everything happens for a reason, and we're back now. So I look forward to getting this fight in with Andre FIlli, and then trying to get that Lerone Murphy fight rematched if he ever stops actually running.
Of the beef we've seen it on social media between yourself and Lerone Murphy, what's that stems from?
So I put something up when obviously I got injured, and I said, look. I said on my Twitter, I didn't at him or anything. I just put, guide. Obviously, I was out, guys. I was looking at putting on a masterclass for this fight, blah, blah, blah. He obviously got the ump because I said masterclass, and actually commented on my thing with laughing faces, going come on, bro, or whatever. And it just kind of stemmed from there, really. And for me, it was all a bit of friendly banter at the start. And then he started saying things that were quite personal and stuff. And then, at the fight interview, he started saying "Where's Nathaniel Wood? Where's Nathaniel Wood? Fuck Nathaniel and all this." And it's like, mate, I got 14 stitches in my leg. How am I going to fight? And he was, "Oh, it's a graze. It's a graze." Well, I wish it was a graze, but unfortunately not. So all I wanted to do is get the fight reorganized because, of course, I was the one that had to pull out. But yeah, he's refusing to get that fight back on track. So we'll just have to wait and find out. I can't make him take it. So, he said he was going to look for a top 15 guy, but, he's not fighting a top 15 guy. So I'll leave him to it.
Is that a fight you would want to happen in London, England, or would you be happy taking it stateside?
Ideally, I'd like it in London, England. Obviously, it would be nice. It would be two Brits going at it. And yeah, I'm not losing any sleep over him. It is what it is. It's a little bit of back and forth. I'm not taking it too personally, but I would like to punch his face in and get paid for it.
Will we expect if you're successful against Andre FIlli on July 22nd, will we expect a post-fight call-out of Lerone Murphy?
Yes, but obviously it all depends how his fight goes as well. Because, his last fight, and his last fight, he lost, man. I had him losing at 100%, and I said it again on my Twitter. I just put guys I thought Lerone lost that. I didn't at him, I didn't make it personal, where I'm going to say, hey, bro, you lost that fight. And again, he started giving it all the fucking, fuck you. And, he called me a nonce as well. We had a bit back and nonce. I'm thinking, okay, mate, if you want to use them words lightly, yeah. So I'm looking forward to put my money where my mouth is, and let's get the fight rebooked and get it scheduled. But I'm not looking past Andre FIlli. I've obviously got to get a fight in with him first, and I think he's going to be a great competitor.
How are you feeling? Obviously, you're probably starting camp now. How are you feeling going into camp, and how's the body feeling after the injury?
Yeah, I feel amazing. I've started my camp actually a couple of weeks earlier than normal. And, where I've gone up a weight, I can actually refuel properly. I can have proper like nutritional food. You know, after my training sessions when I was at bantamweight, I'd be starving still. So now, you know, I've even got like a little smoothie here. You know, I can make sure I'm covering well, and yeah, you know, I can't wait, mate. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling strong, and you know, I love competing. I love fighting. So you know, I'm looking forward to it.
Was that the reason why you went up to 145, so you can properly refuel your body after training sessions?
Yes, and just to stay active, you know, I've not ended up staying active because of injuries, but you know, at bantamweight, mate, it would take me 12 weeks just to make weight. So if the UFC said to me, like, right, we have a fight for you, it's in 6 weeks, I'm like, I can't make weight. Whereas now I can make weight in 6 weeks. You know, I'm always training, I'm always fit all year round. For me, it was just about making weight. And, you know, now I'm actually going in my training camp's able to train for the fight and not just try and burn calories to make weight. So, yeah, you know, fingers crossed, touch wood, I stay uninjured. And, you know, I'd like to try and get 4 fights a year in at least. And then, yeah, work my way up these rankings.
What is that weight cut? Is it a completely different weight cut from 135 to 145, how you drink yourself water?
Yeah, mate, 100%, man. With featherweight now, I'm like, let's just say for 2 weeks, I'm like, you know, I'm feeling pretty crap, bit shitty. And then on the week, obviously, I have to do the water cut. Whereas bantamweight, I'd probably be feeling like shit for 6 weeks. And then on fight week, I'm deaf doors, man. You know, I'm like, the last one, I was in tears. My brain was just not functioning properly. You know, my missus said to me once, well, why are you crying? What's the matter? And I was like, everything hurts. You know, my whole body's just in pain. And it kind of takes the enjoyment away. So I'm like, if I'm not enjoying 6 weeks of my fight camp and I fight 3 times a year, 18 weeks of the year, I'm not enjoying it. And at the end of the day, I did MMA because I loved it and I wanted to do this as a career. But if you're not enjoying it anymore, then what's the point? So now I'm up to featherweight. You know, I'm enjoying every part of it except for maybe 2 weeks of the camp, which, you know, 3 fights a year, 6 weeks, I'll take that. You know, the rest of the year is all fun and games for me.
You wish them more of the UFC roster went up to more of the natural weight class, so then someone like yourself doesn't have to drain down to 135, so you get, you know, maybe a 2 inch advantage in height.
Yeah, I think there should be more weight classes. Obviously, in boxing there's a lot. In MMA there isn't. But you know, it is what it is, and if people aren't willing to um, stop cutting weight, you know, I'd like to think that I'm the proof in the pudding. You know, I'd like to think that look, you don't actually have to be the biggest guy in there to win the fights. You know, stylistically, yes, if someone takes me down and lays on me, you know, they're going to have a slight advantage. But in the striking department, I'm going to be faster. You know, the last two guys that I fought at featherweight, I felt like my reactions were just so much faster than them. You know, I felt like I was in the Matrix. I was able to see everything. And I think that's where I've just gone up a weight class. You know, I was used to fighting bantamweights and flyweights. Now I'm fighting guys that are a hell of a lot slower. So there are its advantages. You know, I get to go in the fight feeling fresh, having a proper fight camp, you know, not having to drain myself. And yeah, I'd like to think that some fighters may look at it and go, right, you know, I'm going to copy him and, you know, look after myself a bit better and have a longer career because, man, it ain't good on your kidneys cutting weight. And yeah, you know, I've done my days at bantamweight and now it's all about featherweight. You know, I'm going to be healthy and go in my fights feeling fresh.
Like you mentioned, your last fight against Charles Jourdain, you look so sharp in there compared to what you look like in some of your bantamweight performances towards the end of that.
Yeah, and mate, I think that's just where I said to everyone, he didn't feel slow, but I felt like my reactions were just too fast for him. You know, I felt like every time he was about to throw a shot, I would see it. Whereas at bantamweight, it's a bit harder. You know, it's a bit harder to time the bantamweights. And in the gym, when it comes to the striking, I struggle more with the flyweights. You know, they're so much faster. You know, like your John Dodson, you know, he's just like, oh, you know, he's so quick. It's just hard to catch him. Whereas the bigger guys, man, you know, with these 4 ounce gloves, a couple of kilos heavier than me, I'm still going to knock them out if I land my shots. So for me, it's just more about, you know, timing and, you know, they've just got the advantages. So, yes, you know, if you're going to fight maybe like a Khabib style guy that wants to take you down and hold you down, you know, then, you know, you don't really want to give too much weight advantage away. But at the end of the day, that's why we train, right? We get the technique up to be able to deal with that.
You talk about Khabib. Do you watch say someone like a Khabib or Conor McGregor, and you try to implement some of their skill sets into your own game and put your own unique style on it?
Yeah, so I like to obviously look at other fighters and try and incorporate everything into one, try and mold it into myself. So, I might look at 5 takedowns that Khabib's done and then try them. You might end up with one that you like, or you adjust it or mold it to yourself. McGregor's style, I don't actually really do too well if I try and fight like that. I kind of have my own sort of striking now where, I feel like I've found my rhythm. And I kind of just try and put everything together. It's my coach says, I'll give you the ingredients, you make the potion. So I just try and take a little something from everyone and then make it into the best Nathaniel Wood that I can be on fight day.
You talk about your coach, Brad Pickett. How important has he been throughout your career, passing down the experience that he once had fighting in the UFC?
Mate, he's been a huge part. He's obviously, when I met him, I think he was 5th in the world at the time at the weight class that I was at. So what better person to be training with? And now, obviously he's retired. He's now my coach. And it's great to have a coach that's been in there and done it. He's gone in there. He knows what we go through. He knows weight cutting processes. He knows, sponsorship side of things. He knows everything about what a fighter's got to do. So, he's been a great asset in my camp and in my team. And, I'm looking forward to another, hopefully, 10 years with him.
You talk about a 10-year career. I'm guessing that's going to end in championship gold eventually down the line for yourself.
That is the plan. That is the plan, mate. And I believe it. I think you always get your doubters, I guess, and the people that say, no, you won't do it. But I believe I can be there. I believe that I'm one of the best fighters in the world. On the rankings, I haven't been able to get there yet. But, I've been injured for about a year now. And then before that, I was injured for 2 years. So, while all these guys were working their way up the ladder, I was sitting at home on the sidelines. So, I believe that I'm destined to be UFC champion. It's just a matter of getting in there, getting the fights done and proving it.
Obviously, you're not going to look past Andre FIlli as a tough competitor in his own right, but do you look at that top 15 and you see people that you can beat and take into deep waters?
So, mate, if I'm honest, there's no one in that division that I don't think I can beat. I believe I can beat any of them. I just think that you have your styles. So there's certain guys that you're like, okay, I'm going to struggle more with him. Or stylistically, it might be more of a boring fight camp. You might have to prepare for more takedowns, etc. Obviously, the toughest fight in the division, I do believe, is Alexander Volkanovski. So that's great because he is the champ. For me, I generally believe that, the proof's in the pudding. He's pound for pound one of the number one guys. But yes, he will be the toughest fight to date if I ever manage to get there. So for me now, it's just hoping that he's still the champ by the time I get there, and I'd like to be the one to dethrone him.
You talk about Volkanovski. How did you score the fight against Islam Makhachev?
It's very, very close. I think that I was kind of swaying to Volkanovski, but maybe because I would have said he was the underdog. He's gone up a weight class, so I kind of think, he done enough to get the win. Hopefully we can see it again.
With Volk now fighting Yair Rodriguez on International Fight Week, who do you think? You said you want to fight Volkanovski if he's still the champion, but do you think Yair has enough to put him out?
I can't see it. I don't think he's going to. I don't think he can beat Volkanovski, but it is MMA at the end of the day, and anything can happen. But I think Volkanovski is next level, and I don't think he's going to have any issues on fight night.
You fought all over the world: Vegas, Abu Dhabi, London. Which one is your favourite to fight in?
London, man. Always London. So, I'm proud, obviously, to be from London, and I'm the only UFC London fighter on the roster. So, for me, it's always a proud moment being on the London card.
You always try keeping yourself fit and ready. Injuries aside, for the March London card, that's pretty much a staple, year in, year out.
Yes. So I get married straight after this fight, and then what I'm trying to do is see if I can get on the Abu Dhabi card and then UFC London. So obviously I'm just trying to kind of predict the future on when their dates and shows are going to be. But yeah, every year they seem to be doing March. So, now it looks like they're doing March and July. So I'd like to think that the UFC are now going to do more UK shows. And yeah, if they keep coming back to London, man, that's sweet for me.
Hopefully they'll go all across the UK, not just London, but Sheffield, Manchester, and all the other big cities.
Yeah, I'm going to be selfish and just hope that they stay. Listen, I don't stay in the hotel on fight week. You know, I literally live 40 minutes from the venue. So it's the matter of just literally turn up, fight. Last time I came home within the hour, I had a cup of tea, walked the dog, you know, chilling out. So, yeah, it's nice to be home. You have them home comforts. You know, I have all my friends, all my family there, and they all live right by the hotel. So it's a good feeling.
Does that make it easier for, like we said before, when you cut weight in the final 2 weeks, you'll have your home comfort, you've got your girlfriend, you've got your team pretty much right next to you?
Yeah, 100%. You know, it's a blessing that I can even cut weight in my own gym. You know, I literally can get the keys, cut weight at whatever time I want. It's kind of like being spoiled. You know, I can have whatever I want on fight week because I am literally at home. You know, I do go in obviously to the UFC hotel and, you know, do what I need to do for the media side of things. But, you know, mate, I can just be home in 30, 40 minutes, you know, go and walk my dog, chill out, sleep in my own bed, comforts from home, while the other fighters can deal with jet lag and away from their friends and family. You know, I've got it all here under my roof.
Do you think that puts more pressure on a fighter being at home, having family, friends around them, or being the away team essentially?
So it does put pressure on them, but if I'm honest, I perform better with pressure. You know, if I'm not nervous before a fight, something's wrong. You know, I need them kind of like, let's go. You know, you see me coming out for my fights, I'm always buzzing. You know, you'll never see me coming out chilled and relaxed. I'm like a madman. You know, I'm just ready to go, and then I get Brad to slap me a few times because I need to go in the fight pumped up and angry. You know, I like that pressure of shit's about to get real. So yeah, being at home, there is that added pressure, especially being in your hometown and you're the only London fighter. There's always pressure on your shoulders for that. But, you know, I do always perform better under it.
How do you deal with those nerves? Obviously, we've seen Corey Sanhagen on Joe Rogan talk about how he likes to play with those nerves whilst in the dressing room before a fight. And then when he gets close, he likes to get more confident and then fears start going away. Do you see the same happening with you when you go out there to perform?
So with me, I just know that the nerves go once I walk out. You know, as soon as my music comes on and I'm in that like the limelight, the nerves are gone. I'm no longer thinking about that. So whenever I get pre-fight nerves, I just remind myself they're going to be gone in 10 minutes. You know, it's a bit like queuing up for a roller coaster. You know, you're in the queue, you're like, shit, man, this is, you know, oh, here we go. You know, I've got maybe half an hour to wait in the queue. And then once you're on that ride, you know you're going to love it. You know you're going to have a sick time. So, yeah, for me, it's just reminding myself that you're going to enjoy this. You're doing this because you love it. And, yeah, just go with the journey, man. Do you know what I mean? All them ups and downs, the nerves, the highs, the lows, you know, it's a good feeling and it's making memories.
There's 15 minutes inside the cage. It actually feel like 15 minutes when you're inside, or does it feel like 2 minutes and it's over?
Depends how the fight's going. If I feel like the fight's close, the round's going very quickly. You know, when I fought Dodson, I felt like our first two rounds really close, and it was like shit. You know, the time's going here. You need to do something quick. Yeah, when I'm winning, it's like bloody hell, this is taking a long time. On the step in now, I'm surely I'm winning the fight. So yeah, all depends how the fight's going. Depends on how quick it feels.
Was that the feeling for the Charles Jourdain fight? Obviously, you were dominating from the opening bell, really looked a step ahead of him in every department. Did it feel like it was going slow and the ref should have jumped in earlier?
Yeah, I felt like it was going on for ages, man. You know, my cardio was fine. Like, it wasn't like I was sitting there struggling, but I was thinking, I feel like we've been in here for five fives at the end of it. But maybe that's because I'm enjoying. I don't know, because obviously that the last two fights I've enjoyed more than any others, and I think that's because the weight cut process has left it. You know, I wasn't worried about that, and I was just having fun, man. But yeah, I felt like I was in there for ages, which, you know, I'm not complaining because I'm fighting. You know, I think there's a lot of fighters nowadays that they don't compete because they enjoy it. They just maybe compete now because they're earning good money from it. Um, you know, I put something up on Twitter the other day saying so many athletes, not many fighters, because, you know, I don't think there are many that actually enjoy being in that fight. You know, if you said to the majority of the UFC roster, you'll never have to fight again. Here's your wages. I'll pay you every year and you can just retire. I think a lot would take it. Whereas I like it. I like competing. So I would do it for free if I didn't have to do it for money still.
You see the UFC going into more of a athletes instead of fighter with former, NFL players coming into MMA.
Say that again, mate. Sorry, you broke up a little bit.
Oh, sorry. Do you see like the UFC becoming more athletes than fighters because more NFL in America players are coming in fighting?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think nowadays that, I think a lot of people are very athletically gifted, and you can do very well in MMA when you're very athletically gifted. Look at, for example, like Ronda Rousey. She was the most dominant female at the time. Got obviously beat, didn't like it. No, done, jacked it all in, just completely went choom. And I think a lot of fighters are like that. I see so many guys coming through our gym and you can see they're absolutely talented. They're really good, but they just don't want to be in a fight. They got their fight coming, they're nervous and they're, weeks out, maybe a month out, and they're sitting there like, oh, and they're asking me, they're going, Nate, do you think this guy's going to like beat me? Do you think this guy looks all right? And I'm like, bro, you're fighting, man. It's in MMA. Like, you're supposed to enjoy it. And I think a lot of people like the idea of being a fighter, but don't actually like fighting.
Yeah.
And me, I'm not like a violent person. I don't go out and have street fights. I love competing. I love, growing up doing WWE and things like this. To me, this is play fighting. We are in an extreme sport, but it's pretend. There's rules. There's a referee. There's no groin shot. There's no, eye gouging. There's no, you got a gum shield. There's so many rules to it. This to me is rough play fighting. So
yeah,
I enjoy it, but I think there's a lot of guys out there that are more doing it for the name or the career side of things. I want to be an athlete, which is what I originally wanted to do, but I don't think they enjoy the actual competition side of things.
You think that was what makes MMA beauty compared to boxing? That it's more of a, like you said, it's play fighting, but a rough version to it.
Yeah, I think because a lot of people say it's like there's no rules. There's loads of rules, but it's the closest thing I think you can get to a real fight. Obviously boxing, it's boxing. So, you could have Conor McGregor versus Mayweather, but what happens if Mayweather takes McGregor? What happens if McGregor takes Mayweather down, or what happens if McGregor throws kicks? So, I like that side of there's kind of like anything goes within reason. So yeah, I think that's why I think it's a lot faster growing than boxing maybe was. And I do think that eventually MMA is going to completely, if it hasn't already, go past boxing. But yeah, I also enjoy that with the UFC anyway. There's no padding records. There's no kind of giving people easy fights. If you're in the UFC, you're good. You can't be in the UFC unless you've got some talent. So it's nice to be able to say that I'm competing against the best guys in the world.
We talk about padded records. You don't really see many UFC fighters going retiring and beating. Obviously, we had Khabib. He's the odd one out, but everyone takes losses, and it makes it more beautiful of the story when fighters take losses and rebound from it.
Yeah, and I think that's because with like boxing, you can kind of make a mistake. You get 10 seconds to stand up, so you can't make a mistake in MMA. Like a game of chess, you make a mistake, that could be all she wrote. And I know that, for example, boxing, you can obviously get knocked out and that's it. But majority of the time, fighters get knocked down, they get that 10 seconds to get back up and, they can kind of rectify the mistake they make where, in MMA, if you make a mistake, it literally can be all she wrote. And, that's what I love about the sport. It's the blessing and the curse, because I've had fights where, like Josh Reed, I don't know if you've seen that fight where I'm almost out, he's like, kicking the shit out of me. And then I hit him, turn it around, and I end up beating him. I've had it with fights like John Dodson. I got caught. Damn, got caught. As I'm trying to get back up, he's jumped on me, the ref stopped it. It's like, it's MMA, anything can happen. Look at Paul Craig, when I can't remember the guy he beat, but it was the last second he got the submission and he was losing the whole fight. So, that's what I love about the sport, that anything can happen at any moment. And, it makes it more exciting.
You talk about Paul Craig, one of the many British fighters. How do you see British MMA evolving from when you came into sport to how it is now?
Oh, it's huge, mate. It is huge now. Back in the day, I had to go and do my jiu-jitsu at this gym, go and do my boxing at this gym, Muay Thai, put it together. Whereas now MMA has actually become a sport. At the gym that I go to now, GB Top Team, we do MMA classes. Classes where people can come and learn MMA as a whole and not just individual sports putting it together. And yeah, obviously we've got Leon Edwards now, who's the champ. We've got people like Arnold Allen coming through the ranks who was potentially going to get a title shot after his last fight. And yeah, it's an exciting time. And, I think the Brits are showing that we can compete with anyone in the world.
Would you do any of your camp? Obviously, we talked about Leon Edwards. Would you do any of your camp down in Birmingham with Dave Lavelle and Fabian and Leon Edwards, like Arnold did for the Max Holloway fight?
I would definitely pop down there. And, I know Leon, I know Arnold. I'd definitely pop down there and do some sparring with the guys. That would be nice. But for my camps, it's got to be at home, man. I need to be my home comforts and my team around me. So, yeah, I'll definitely pop down there and do some sparring maybe in the future. But it's a long old drive for me as well. So, yeah, for this fight camp, I'll be at home.
Are you disappointed that UFC London, July 22nd, is a fight night, not a big pace for you, like it was in March?
To be honest, doesn't bother me. I get paid the same. I don't get pay-per-view points or anything like that. So it would have been nice to have been on that card because obviously it was, I guess going to get more views and more of an audience. But, I still get to fight. I still get paid the same. So regardless, I'm happy.
With how important is Leon Edwards having a champion from the UK like we had before in Bisping? How important is it?
I think it's important that it shows the world that us Brits can compete. We can become UFC champions. And Leon Edwards was the champ on a show that I used to fight on called Bama at the time. And that was like on the regional scene. So, it's quite motivating to see the same guy and now the UFC champ. If I ever needed like a bit of a reminder that, we can become champ or we can be in there with the best in the world, it's him being champ, that's for sure.
Is it more inspiring, his story, having all the setbacks in like lockdown? He hardly got a fight. He got one against Bilal Muhammad, the eye poke, then the Nate Diaz getting wobbled in the final minute, having all the setback and now becoming champion.
Yeah, I think it makes for the story. It makes it even better. Every fighter, I think, has them setbacks. I guess you can say Khabib didn't, but usually, those setbacks going to just set you up for a major comeback. So, I'd like to think with the injuries that I've had recently and stuff, it's all God's plan, and it's all happening for a reason.
Would you if you do get a championship opportunity, would you prefer a headshot dead or a 5-round decision?
Depends on how the fight's going. So, the last 2 fights I've had, I didn't really want to get a finish. I was like, man, let's just keep going. Like, this is fun. But, you can't beat as Leon would say, headshot dead.
Going back to earlier in your UFC career, you was on the UFC 232 card, which got moved from Vegas to California. How was that like being a part of that card?
So the moving thing was a bit of a pain in the ass because obviously I was trying to cut a lot of weight, and the last thing I want to hear is, right, you're now moving over and you've got to get on another flight and this and that. And, it was actually as we was flying out to Vegas that we got told we may be going to LA. And it was a little bit of a head fuck, if you like. It was like, man, what's going on? But it all played up in the end, and it was nice to be able to visit 2 places on one trip. So it was fine in the end, but it was cool to see John Jones on a card. To be in the venue and stuff with him on the same night was quite a cool feeling. Obviously I'd been watching him for years, so yeah, it was a kind of, man, we've made it feeling. So yeah, win as well that night.
Talking about John Jones, do you think he's the greatest of all time?
100%. 100%. Maybe not the best human being of all time, but the guy's a martial artist, man. The guy's incredible. So yeah, he's to me, he's the GOAT.
Would there be anyone else you would have on that pedestal as the greatest of all time alongside John?
I'd say GSP. Yeah, for me, GSP, maybe Anderson Silva, but now I'm going back to the kind of the old school guys. So, yeah, for me, John Jones first, and then maybe GSP second.
We talked about Leon Edwards being a champ from the UK. We've also had one before, Michael Bisping. Is he someone you inspired to be like from having all of his setbacks as well, to then becoming a world champion?
Yeah, 100%. And, Bisping took the dream of me being first UK champion, but I can still be the first London champion. So that's my plan now, and as I say, it's nice to see other guys do it, especially obviously Leon, because he still trains in the UK. I think Bisping at the time moved over to the States. So yeah, I'd like to be next in line, and I'd like to think that I can bring back UFC gold to London.
You think that hurts a bit of Bisping's legacy in the UK? Obviously, he was from the UK, but he went over to stateside and abandoned us essentially.
I don't think it hurt, but I guess people could say, well, he's a Brit, but he trains at America, so it's like, people could argue maybe that he gets better training in the States, and if he was in the UK, he wouldn't have been champ. Like, who knows? Whereas with Leon Edwards, it's like, he trains in the UK, he's from the UK, he's the UK champ. You can't knock it. You can't say, oh, the UK guys haven't got the training facilities. We've got that now. We've got the talent. We've got the sparring partners. We've got the coaching. Now it's just proving it, and I think that's what Leon Edwards has done.
Would you ever go out stateside and learn from some of the gyms out over
there? To be honest, mate, I've been out before a couple of times and prefer it at home, man. I think I'm one of these home comforts, and I do better, I think, when I'm at home. And I think now we've got the training partners. So I think sometimes a lot of fighters, they go away because it's like a holiday. I would love to go and train in Thailand because, who wouldn't want to be in Thailand? It's a beautiful country. But in regards to the actual training, I think we've got it here. We just haven't got the weather.
Do you think couldn't wait in hot weather is easier when you're sweating all the time, like in Vegas or California, than in the UK?
So I'm lucky now that with the gym we've got heating, we've got air conditioning. So we've always got the room temperature to, the perfect temperature that we need. It does help your joints though when you're in a nice hot country, or in England when it's summer. I go to the gym now, I'm already loose and kind of warmed up. Whereas, in winter, man, it's like we have to be covered up head to toe in woolly gear, and there's nothing worse than having to try and warm your joints up before your session.
Talked about previously how you loved MMA. What's the reason? Like, what's your main love for
it? Just as, like I said earlier, with the anything can happen. I love that issue. And, one mistake can be the end of the fight.
How do you balance going into camp now for the Andre FIlli fight and then having a life outside, having a social life? How do you balance them two things?
So I'm quite good at that now. I used to just can't switch off at all from MMA, but I come home now, I go and walk my dog. I've got other things that I need to do. And yeah, I find it quite easy now. And now with the weight cut change, when I've obviously had to make bantamweight, it's like a 24/7 thing because I'm just constantly hungry. Whereas now, I can actually go and, yeah, cool, tonight, if I want to take the missus for some dinner, I can go and do it. I can afford to put on some calories, and, I can actually have a life now outside of MMA.
You talk about your relationship walking your dog. How important is that relationship? We see it all over your Instagram stories and Instagram posts of your relationship with your dog. How important is he to you?
To me, he's like, I guess what it would be like having a kid. I haven't got a kid yet. We will be having kids soon, but yeah, he is like my fur baby. He's I bought him as he's a protection dog as well, but I would never have him go out and protect me. I'd be him. So but yeah, I love animals, man. I love dogs, I love cats, I love everything. So I love all sort of animal creatures, and yeah, it's just nice, man. He's it's weird because it's like he understands me, and he's a dog. You're probably gonna think, what's he talking about? But yeah, a very special relationship with my dog, and that's another thing with Lerone Murphy. He tried taking the piss out of my dog a few times, so I'm gonna remind him that when I'm beating him up in a cage.
Do you like talking to your opponents? You talk then about reminding Leon Murphy, but do you talk to Charles Jourdain or Charles Rosa when you were beating them up?
No, me and Charles Rosa had a couple of times where I can't remember what he said. I think I did a kind of karate style, and he went, "Oh yeah," like that or something. Like, I was like, "No, that was it." He had a go at me as well, and sort of tried to say like, "Come on, like let's fight." And I'm like, "Bro, I'm right here. Like, I'm standing right in front of you." And I laughed at one point to him and kind of said like, "Look, where you going?" Because at that point he kind of backed up. But no, usually I don't, man. I'm humble. I'm humble, and I know the fight. So, you better not talk too much shit in case they turn it around. But with Lerone, when I'm ground and pounding him, I'm gonna say that one's for my dog, and that one's for Ivor, and yeah, I think the dog's gonna be happy with that.
You think that'll be an enjoyable moment? Obviously, if you get past Andre FIlli and he gets past his opponent, not looking past him, to eventually get inside a cage with Lerone Murphy.
Yeah, mate, that would be the plan. And it's just this is the thing I love about the sport as well, right? It's only us that can back it up. So I can sit here and say Lerone is nowhere near as good as me. He can say I'm nowhere near as good as him, but we can get in the cage, fight, get paid, and actually see. So one of us is going to have to eat our words, because we're both saying shit about each other. I'm saying I can beat him. He's saying he can beat me. So let's find out. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In victory, humble in defeat. So, but yeah, I'm pretty confident that I'd go in and do the job.
Would there be a handshake at the end of that fight, no matter what happens?
If I'm honest, mate, there's no animosity from me. Like I want to fight him. If he wants to be nice about it and shake hands before, after, cool. No hard feelings. Do you know what I mean? He started making things personal. He's the one that said, like, yeah, let's see how your energy is on fight week. Like, yeah, I'm going to be there. So, like, what do you think? I'm not going to turn up? Do you think you're going to, I don't know, try and step up to me on fight week when I've got a fight with Andre FIlli? Like, if he wants to, he can. I'm in my hometown, mate. Do you know what I mean? I'm not worried. So, yeah, but if he wants to be like, shake hands, let's fight, cool. Because at the end of the day, we're going to fight. Whether we like each other or whether we hate each other, I'm still going to punch you the same. So, yeah, balls in his court on that one.
As well as the physical side of MMA, the mental health aspect, being able to take the beatings every day you put your body through, how important is that?
It's very important. I'm like the most mentally strong person and the most mentally weak sometimes because I suffer with a lot of mental health myself. But when it comes to MMA, I'm very mentally strong. And I think that the being mentally weak with the mental health side of things, like anxiety, depression, OCD, that has caused me to physically be very strong. Mentally when I'm in the ice bath or mentally when I'm cutting weight or getting beat up in sparring, for me, I know it's nothing compared to what it is to suffer with mental health. So, yeah, it's kind of like going through the dark days has made me stronger now. Yeah.
You think that's important for someone like yourself, being able to remind yourself of maybe the dark days and being able to push an extra pace, whether it's in a fight or sparring or on the treadmill or anything?
Yeah, I think that the dark days just make you tougher, man. Do you know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, anyone that's suffered bad with mental health and come out on the other side, they're obviously strong, to go through that and still be here with us now. So, yeah, I think it's an important aspect. And I think, on fight day, no matter how good you are, at the end of the day, one, it's a little bit of pot luck in MMA, and two, it's who's more switched on the day. You could have a more talented fighter, but if mentally he's not as strong as the other guy on fight night, he might not be able to beat him. So, yeah, it's very, very important.
You think it's important to have a mixture of both, having the talent and being able to switch it on when it matters?
Yeah, you got to have both. And we call it controlled aggression, knowing when to be aggressive and, knowing when to do what in what point in the fight. You do have to be very smart with it.
Well, we've only talked about your business inside of fight and outside of fight, and you've got Prospect Apparel and Prospect Academy. How important is it to have those businesses outside of it?
So for me, it was like what you said earlier about how do you switch off from MMA. These are like I call them my retirement plans or my little projects. I try and focus on these. One, to take my mind away from MMA, and two, to kind of set up that retirement plan. It's not nice, I guess, for fighters when, my coach Brad, the last couple of fights he had, he didn't want to fight. He was done. He was like, mate, I'm ready to retire, but I can't afford to because this is my income. Well, how else am I going to earn money? So for me, what I want to do is set up things like this so that in 5 years, 10 years, wherever it's been that I want to retire, I can afford to do it. Because I would hate to end my career on, if I kept getting knocked out and people were saying, oh, it's time he hangs up the gloves. But, I'm holding on for dear life because that's my money. Or, I'd like to be able to say, look, I'm done with the sport. That's it. I can earn money elsewhere. And, that's my idea now with Prospect Apparel and the Academy. But, yeah, it's good fun, man. If I'm honest, it's like a project. I can't really sit still for more than 10 minutes. So for me, when I'm not in the gym, it's something for me to be working on.
For Prospect Academy, someone like myself who isn't a fighter or doesn't plan to be a fighter, what could I get out of the program?
So with the Prospect Academy, it goes on to the Prospect Apparel. So you'll get your own personal discount link, which is 25% or 30%. You get free shipping on any clothing that you order. Obviously, you might not want to order any clothing. So in that sense, someone like yourself, we give monthly giveaways, which, the first month was a signed UFC poster from Paris. This month's UFC gloves, next month's UFC tickets. Then it's probably going to be something like fight worn shorts. We're going to try and give out things that you can't necessarily buy. It's like, fan memorabilia, if you like, stuff like that. So that will be a big one for people. And for the cost of $4.99, so I've had people offer me £1,200 for my UFC gloves. I think I got offered. And I just said, no, I'm not sale. They're either for charities to try and raise some money, or they're for giveaways. You can't buy them off me. I'm making it so that it's like a rare, item. And if you want to buy it, you're going to have to go and talk to the guy that wins it in the competition.
As well as the giveaways, what could, like I said before, someone like myself that's not trained to be a fighter could get from the coaching available?
So some people, you might like to just see the inside of a fighter's training schedule. So what we've done is that I've had it so it's not just me coaching, it's my coaches showing how they coach me. So for example, you might have a young cousin who's in MMA and you're like, I would like to give him some advice, but you can't because you don't train, you don't have a coaching team. But if you're part of the Prospect Academy, you can go and say, hey bro, I've been watching Nathaniel Wood's UFC team. This is what he does. This is what his strength conditioning likes to do. This is what his boxing coach likes to have. We've given advice section now. So we're telling fighters how they can benefit, on the regional scenes when it comes to selling tickets, making weight. And it's just, I guess some people might just want to have an interest in it. They might just want to sit there and think, okay, what's it like to be in a UFC fighters, team? You can get stuff off YouTube, I guess, from places, but I don't think you can get anything as in depth as we've done for the academy. We've also got things like my nutritionist who does like my smoothie recipes. So, someone like yourself, you don't have to be an athlete, you don't have to be a fighter to, look after your health and come down and get some like nutritional advice. We've also got forums, so on a Discord. So I have a load of fans now, like, that have just joined purely so they can chat to me and my coaching team via our forums link. And I'd like to think that we're just building like a community. We're building something that people can be a part of, and they don't have to just be a fan, messaging on Instagram. They can be a part of it. So far it's doing well, mate. It's good fun as well. I've met some good people on there.
Well, for £5, essentially, it's still compared to some of the other ones online where you'd pay like £12-15 for.
Exactly that, mate. And honestly, it's because I'm not trying to earn money off people. The £5 that everyone's going to pay me, that's going to the videographer, the photographer, the website editor, the coaching. My coaches do the occasional thing for free, but they're not doing all of it. And some of the orders that we've had we had an order from America and I stuck to the free shipping and the discount code. I've had to pay to send it to him. So he ordered something and it cost me money to send it to him. But that's fine because that's what it's about. I'm building something more than just trying to make a quick buck. I'm trying to look at the bigger picture. I don't care if this doesn't make me any profit for another 10 years, if it, is something that I can fall back on when my career is over.
Well, that 20% off Prospect Apparel, like you said, is huge for one of those hats that you're wearing right now. And the Summerland collection you post on your IG stories.
Yeah. and free shipping as well, mate. So I have to pay for the shipping, and you think, oh, it's too cheap, mate. You should charge more. But look, I want people to join because it's access. I don't want it to be like, okay, you got a 16-year-old lad over down the road. He wants to join, but it's 50 quid, 20 quid, 40 quid. He can't afford it. For $4.99, I'd like to think these parents might say, yeah, mate, there you go. There's $4.99. It's the price of a coffee. And that's the other selling point. I wanted to make it that it's so cheap that anyone can afford it. Fingers crossed. I know there's some people out there that might not even be able to afford that, but if there is people out there that can't afford it, I'm sure I can sort that they get it for free. But yeah, I'd like to think that when people actually join it, they realise what they're getting for.
To finish up, Nathaniel, I've got some UFC fighters' names in front of me. We're going to play a bit of word association. First word, first face that comes into your mind.
Okay.
So we've got Colby Covington.
Trash talk. Oh.
Leon Edwards.
Champion.
Volkanovski.
Pound for pound number one.
Max Holloway.
Legend.
Arnold Allen.
So I don't know if you know it because of his Twitter, but I just think Tesco meal deal.
Yeah. Sugar Sean O'Malley.
Businessman.
Conor McGregor.
Special.
Yair Rodriguez.
Second best.
Andre FIlli.
He'll always be second best, but Andre FIlli, pray.
Paddy the Baddy.
Trash talk.
Well, thank you so much, Nathaniel, for coming on.
Thank you for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.